Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Music Den. I'm your host Armando Venditti. Hoping you guys are having a good day. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back with yet another episode of Going for the One, where for the month of September we are going through our favorite debut albums. Now, today is my turn at bat, and the album I've picked is from an artist that has done a lot through his career and has been through hell and back. We are talking about the one, the only Alice Cooper. And we are looking at his debut release from 1975, Welcome to My Nightmare. Now, there is a bit of history with this album. Now, the original band named Alice Cooper, and by the way, Vincent Fournier, which is his birth name, has officially been christened Alice Cooper by way of changing his name to Alice Cooper. Now, the history of this album came about where Jim had to make sense of what I just said. The history of this album came about in early 1974. As far back, I should say, as 1973. The original Alice Cooper band were in the midst of putting together songs for their 1973 release, Muscle of Love. And the rest of the band at this point were, I could say this, getting tired of Alice Cooper's onstage theatrics. They wanted to get back down to back to basics with the music, and they were in the studio getting songs ready. Bob Ezrin was set to produce Muscle of Love, but there was tension in the studio between Bob Ezrin and the rest of the band members, where he went up to the guitarist at the time, and he was going through his song, and he made a suggestion as to maybe, uh, uh, you know, a little section could have been changed, a note here, and he looked him dead square in the face and said, "No, this is how I've arranged it, and this is how we're going to do it." So Ezrin, sensing tension, backed out of the project, and he had Jack Douglas and Jack Richardson come in and work with the band. And he had said to Alice Cooper, "If you ever go solo, I want to work with you again." So the band broke up after the release of Muscle of Love, and Alice Cooper signed a one-off deal with Atlantic Records to release because according to the contract that was signed with Shep Gordon, the band were contracted to do one soundtrack album, and there was like a weird condition of their contract. So Alice Cooper and Bob Ezrin set about to come up with an idea for a concept album, uh, uh, which was basically going to be a soundtrack. Um, and I'll get into that really quickly. They came up with the idea of Welcome to My Nightmare. Welcome to My Nightmare talks about the story of Stephen, a very troubled individual who, on the face of the album, in terms of the concept, basically, this individual, Stephen, every time he'd go to sleep, he would enter this dream state. And every time he would go to sleep, he would have more difficulty waking up from his dreams. And then he would have trouble distinguishing reality from fiction. Now, in terms of the concept, the the concept of the album basically is become convoluted because there was another idea that was presented in an interview with Bob Ezrin about this rock star that was on the trip with his girlfriend, and the plane crashed, and they landed on this island. And basically, only he emerged a few weeks later, and his girlfriend was dead. And the character of Stephen turned into a vampire. So the concept over the years has become very convoluted and like fuzzy, and but I pretty much like the original concept of this individual that had trouble waking up from his dreams. The you know as time went on. Now, in terms of the release of the album was released on Atlantic Records, is one and only release for the label in North America, and Anchor Records in Europe. It was released on March 11th, 1975. There was also a TV special that aired on ABC called The Nightmare, and it aired on April 25th, 1975. The album itself was recorded between 74 and 75 at Soundstage in Toronto, Record Plant East, Electric Lady, and A&R Studios in New York City. Now, in terms of the music on the album, it goes all over the place. You're talking, I guess you'd say, shock rock, glam rock, hard rock, vaudeville, ballads. It goes all over the place. And the musicians that played on the album, Dick Wagner and Steve Hunter, respectively, uh, those musicians had worked with Bob Ezrin when he produced Lou Reed's album the previous year, Berlin. So that's how they recruited the musicians for the album. And also, Tony Levin is featured on the album on the title track and the track Escape, the last track on the album. Now I'm going to go through the album with you. Starts off with the title track, Welcome to My Nightmare. Uh, to me, this track was listed online as being a disco tinged track. I don't hear disco in this track whatsoever. I hear more jazz elements on it. And what I do like about this track is the opening section where you hear the strumming of the guitars. The strumming of the acoustic guitars is so clear and crisp, and his vocal introduction on the track is so precise and so intimate. Like he's really close up to the mic when he's singing this section of the track. In my notes, I have here great bass guitar and start again. Great bass and guitar work, jazz elements on this track, nice acoustic guitar, very subtle strings on this piece, and they also used symphonic elements on this album. Devil's Food is up next, uh, which it's your basic rock track, right? Nothing really dramatic, but it does feature Vincent Price on this track as the curator of the dream. And it segues into a the blistering Black Widow track featuring great guitar, nice breakdown section um, on this track. Amazing guitar from Steve Hunter and Dick Wagner on this, just balls to the wall rock. Okay. Then it comes to Some Folks, uh, which it's it's vaudeville meets rock. Okay. And when you see him do this track on the TV special, he's basically he's in top hat and tails, right? Doing this, a white top hat and tails, and he's featuring dancers dressed up in skeleton outfits. Okay, so you still have that shock rock thing going on there for him. Uh, Excuse me. Up next, on the last track on side one is one of the singles from the album, Only Women Bleed. The, this track, a beautiful track, very dramatic, beautiful strings, beautiful guitar. Uh, and subject matter talks about how uh, women are basically treated in some relationships as objects and possessions, and how this woman, the character in the track, basically in the storyline, basically deals and just accepts the abuse that her boyfriend or her husband gives her, and because she knows no other way, and she loves him. Um, you know, Side two starts off with the first single from the album, Department of Youth, 3 minutes and 16 seconds. Again, just straightforward rock. Good guitar work on this track as with the rest of the album. Cold Ethel is next, 2 minutes and 51 seconds. Again, as a straight up rock track. Nice organ work on it, but it's basically a song about necrophilia. Okay. Cold
As
Ethel.
you do.
Yeah, of course. Um, Up next is where the storyline picks up again for me. I will say, as good as this album is, some of the songs like Department of Youth uh, don't really fit within the storyline of the character of Steven. Years Ago does. It's a beautiful track written by Alice Cooper and Dick Wagner. It's in a 3/4 time signature. And it's kind of in my notes I have here, it kind of has a sinister carnival feel. You kind of get the feeling of the character of Steven in his dream riding on a merry-go-round, right? And he's sort of like clutching on to the horse that he's riding on, and he's, looking around like, like freaking out, like, who's going to come after me now? Like, I gotta stay here. I'm safe on this ride. If I get off this ride, I'm in trouble. Someone's going to come after me, right? And it's done very well. Um, it's very sad. It's very sad. Stephen is up next. Of course, the main character of the story, written by Alice Cooper and Bob Ezrin at 5 minutes and 52 seconds. In my notes, I have here great repetitive piano intro, beautiful string flourishes, very dramatic. Um, and he's basically saying in his dream state that he's confused. He's confused. He doesn't know. He's starting to at this point, he's starting to blur the lines between what is reality and what is a dream, and whether or not he can wake up from the dream, you know. Uh, and if you think about it for a second, guys, if you think about it, imagine going to sleep every night, and when, every time it's time to wake up, you find it more difficult to wake up out of your dreams. It's pretty scary, right? It's pretty screwed up, right? And it's quite sad in a way,
Yeah.
but it's a very powerful track, beautiful strings on it. It segues into the track The Awakening. Uh, Great melody structure on this. Sorry, it has a great melody structure, but the melody structure is reminiscent of Only Women Bleed. It sort of incorporates it. The last track on the album is called Escape. Uh, and it's basically saying, okay, he's awakened, like he's up from the dreams, he's safe again, or is he really, right? Like it's
Hmm.
left with a feeling of I don't know whether or not like if he can tell reality from a dream state, and it's kind of left in the air, left up in the air. Sorry, there was a sequel to this called "Welcome to My Nightmare" with the number two in the title, released in 2011, released on Universal Music, and that version of the album, well, uh, that album, sorry, is a more rocking album in terms of heavier guitars, featuring such musicians on the album as uh, Vince Gill. Uh, and I have said on another episode that I did a while back that I do prefer Welcome to My Nightmare, the sequel, over this album. But upon listening to this album, there is a lot more variety
Yeah.
and a lot more dramatic tension in terms of just, with songs like Years Ago with the waltz time and all that. It takes you through peaks and valleys, this album. And yeah, I think it's a fantastic album. The critics panned it when it first came out. Sorry, you're not the only one to make mistakes, guys. The critics did pan it when it came out, but it's noted too that in terms of the longevity of this album, the, his set lists, Alice Cooper's set lists over the years, have featured more songs from this album than any other album that he's ever done. So it has made an impact on people, and it does have legs to it. I did pick up a 2015 remastered edition on purple vinyl, which I have somewhere in the living room, in my shelf. But I think this is a really good album. And I do watch the Nightmare special at Halloween,
Yeah.
when the mood hits me. So it's quite good actually for that. But yeah, no, that's my pick for today. Um, I, in terms of the album, I think it was just in closing quickly. I think it was a step he needed to make. He needed to break away from the Alice Cooper name from the band and make a name for himself as a solo artist. And I think he did very well with this overall.
Is the sequel album a sequel in name only, or is it also theme wise?
No, it carries on the theme of Stephen, and it's a lot more darker. W with Welcome to My Nightmare, you get the idea in the storyline that Stephen's father was an abuser, a molester of him, and abuser of his mother. And yeah, it's pretty bad. It's more darker themes
Nope.
on the album. Um, and spoiler alert, Stephen dies at the end of Welcome to My Nightmare, the sequel.
So there will not be a trilogy. Okay.
No, no, there will not be a trilogy. So.
Well, at some point, he was suspected of being a vampire, so you never know.
Well, that's just it. It's so
Perfect.
like convoluted. You don't know what the storyline is. I mean, the premise of it was originally that okay, it's about this character named Steven, this boy named Steven, who may be a bit of a loner in terms of friends, but every time he went to sleep at night, he found it more difficult to wake up from his dreams. And he was pulled into his dreams. Right when he would fall asleep. So it's like, okay. And then now the story of the vampire. It's like, what is the actual story? I don't even think they knew when they were writing it,
Yeah.
at the time. So, but it's good if you want good, heavy guitars, good melodies, a variety of music, good musicianship, very tight musicianship. This is the album for you.
Yeah. A very ambiguous ending, kind of like the end of Lost. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I guess you'd say. Yeah, I never
Hold on,
did
Jim.
follow Lost.
Calm down.
I never did follow Lost, but that's okay. Uh, any questions or comments, Jim?
I would say that I would not give up on the fact that there might be a Welcome to My Nightmare where the E is flipped as the number three.
Ooh, good point.
Anything is possible. I mean, and I should say too, the original Alice Cooper band, minus Glenn Buxton, who passed away, is releasing The Revenge of Alice Cooper, again produced by Bob Ezrin, released through Universal Music, coming out July 25th. Um, by the time this airs, you would have already have picked it up. I would have. And yeah, um, who knows
Okay.
for Welcome to My Nightmare. I do think it's a good idea as a storyline, right?
Mhm.
But
Okay.
all right, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. A, another sentence, another episode of Going for the One featuring Welcome to My Nightmare from Alice Cooper. Please put down in the comments below your opinion on this album, and again, any other uh, favorite debut albums that you might like and that we should be made aware of, because we don't know everything about music, and I've said this before. We're not music experts. We just want to present to you what we like, and hopefully, if it's something that piques your interest, go check it out. You can stream this album on YouTube and before you go pick it up, and it's been released in various forms. Um, so please do check that out. So for Ken, Jim, and Sagosh, I'm Armando signing off. Again, please click like and subscribe and hit the notification bell to keep yourselves on top of any new content we got coming up. And we will see you soon with another segment of Going for the One. Bye for now.